and welcome back to Ron Hasn't Seen. Today we're discussing A Fistful of Dollars. It's the 1964 spaghetti western directed by Sergio Leone and starring Clint Eastwood. This was Eastwood's first leading role, and the film itself is widely considered a remake of Akira Kurosawa's 1961 Yojimbo. Kurosawa's work was considered the basis for a lot of other films, like Seven Samurai becoming The Magnificent Seven, Hidden Fortress heavily influencing Star Wars, but however in this case, Toho, who was Kurosawa's production company, successfully sued Leone and received 15% of the worldwide gross of A Fistful of Dollars, despite Leone showing that the basic plot can be traced back to an Italian 19th century play, The Servant of Two Masters. It was just close enough, and a lot of the other thematical elements just aligned enough for them to win the lawsuit here. The plot follows Eastwood. He's a drifter and a gun for hire. He wanders into a small town in border town Mexico, right just south of the U.S. border, called San Miguel. The town is all but deserted, basically because of the conflict between two rival smuggling families. There are the Mexican family, the Rojo brothers, who are gun runners, and the Americans, the Baxters, who are the nominal sheriff in town, but are also smuggling booze across the border. As he rides into town, the Baxters' men insult Eastwood, who's sometimes called Joe, but he's really known as the man with no name. He finds out about what's going on in the town. He kills the men who laughed at him and then ingratiates himself to the Rojos as another gun for hire. This is all part of his plan to kind of clean up the town by turning the families against each other and then cleaning everything up. He uses a deal with the U.S. Army gone wrong to basically frame and put the two families in conflict. Eventually, he gets captured trying to rescue a woman named Marisol, who's been captured by Ramon Rojas. She has a real family elsewhere with a husband and son who are basically being held as hostages to keep her as the Rojo's slave. When Eastwood's captured, he finally escapes, and then the Rojos kill the Baxters, thinking they're keeping him in their compound. So they're out of the picture, and then the Rojos kidnap the man who's been helping Eastwood, the bartender Silvanito, and Eastwood has to go face everybody in the typical gunslinger draw, which he wins by using a metal plate as a bulletproof vest. Then he cleans up the town and, takes his money he's made by playing everybody against each other for hundreds of dollars at a time and leaves. The film is really the spaghetti western, and it is a spaghetti western because it was filmed in Italy with an Italian director, mostly Italian cast, and its two sequels for a few dollars more, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. These are kind of the most notable examples of what a spaghetti western is. Other films came along and kind of aped the style and the storytelling, and plenty of knockoffs with Clint Eastwood lookalikes, and they're kind of wrapped into the spaghetti western genre, but the genre really does refer to Leone and a few other Italian and, some other parts of Europe were kind of involved as well, making these American-style films there cheap. Eastwood wasn't the first choice for the role of the mysterious stranger. Henry Fonda, Charles Bronson, and James Coburn were all considered for the role, but either dismissed because of money or they didn't really seem to like the film. Eastwood, I think he made like $15,000 for the movie, which had a little over a $200,000 budget. Eastwood helped design the look for his character, bringing a lot of the costume and accessory pieces, like the cigars, the black jeans from places in LA. It was also filmed silently because it was supposed to be designed in Italian and European and American markets, so it was dubbed later into each of the other languages. The film came out in Italy in 1964, but wasn't released until January 18th, 1967 in the US, allowing the two already produced sequels to both come out in 1967 as well. So it was a very quick trilogy here in the US between January and December. The whole saga kind of played out. As I said, it had about a $200,000 budget, and it made about $2 million worldwide. But by the time you got to Good, Bad, and the Ugly, it made about cost about $1 million and made about $40 million worldwide in total releases. The film has been visually and stylistically copied for years, but I'd say the most notable reference probably came in Back to the Futures 2 and 3. In Back to the Future 2, when Marty goes to confront Biff, he's watching the film while he's sitting in the hot tub with a couple of his bimbos, I guess is the only real word to say it. And then Marty remembers that scene in 3 when he has to go face Griff in a shootout and copies the whole metal chest plate as a form of bulletproof vest. And that's how he, wins in that film. He even, takes the name Clint Eastwood in the movie, so it's all a big reference to this. Eastwood became a legend in the genre because of these films, up there with John Wayne, which is why The Man with No Name appears directly across from John Wayne's character from The Searchers in The Great Movie Ride. And, the movie is kind of hard for someone who grew up after it to judge on its merits because it's been aped so many times it became a stereotype, but it is a classic for a reason. And, I'm not that into Westerns. I do like some, like High Noon, both versions of True Grit, Unforgiven, Tombstone, Shane. These are all things I've liked or really enjoyed, at least maybe some of them were film class movies, but I really do enjoy these. But I really never kind of got into, like, the Gunsmoke type things or any of that. And I'm going to add this movie to the list of films I've really liked. And I'm probably going to watch the sequels on this channel at some point, too, if I ever do a series on sequels I haven't seen, which is one of the things I have in the pipeline. The movie's visually stunning, and, whatever part of Italy they filmed in really does kind of look like the American Southwest, North Mexico, arid mountains, a beautiful barren terrain, and it alternates between that and real close-ups that show the emotion and and makes the story more personal of all the characters. And the action and the violence is not a lot of quick edits where you see one character fire a gun on one shot and then you see the guy fall over the next. No, like there are shots where you see the point of view of almost the gun as the killing's done, and makes it really of the moment. You're really in the film. I mean, the story is kind of fairly simple, and I think that's why it's not just Jimbo and this, but like it went back to plays, and there were novels that this whole servant of two masters, where one guy is playing two houses against each other, really comes from. And it's easy to understand and pretty easy to follow. There's nothing complex to the story, but there's enough there to keep you entertained. And Eastwood's stoic performance is memorable, even more than some of like the other things like Dirty Harry he's known for. It's just this, I think laconic's the right word, just silent. He barely speaks. He just sits there emotionless. You can't read him, and makes a great anti-hero. And he's not a good guy. He's doing the right thing, and he knows he's doing the right thing, but he's doing it to make money at the same time. So anti-hero really is the point of this. And I think that's kind of the Westerns of the late 50s and 60s, where, these John Ford, good guy, white hat, black hat stuff was really a thing of the past, where the characters were a little more gray. And I think High Noon, one of my film teachers called it the first anti-Western, where the violence wasn't glorified, but it was inevitable. And that's kind of how this feels in a way, but pushes the violence more than something like High Noon did. And that makes it enjoyable. I mean, I understand that the peak of this trilogy is supposedly Good, Bad, and the Ugly, and I really want to get to that, and I hope to soon. Something I really want to watch, and this movie really dragged me into this kind of Western, and I'm really looking forward to doing more. So, that's my review of Good, Bad, and Ugly. That's my review of Fistful of Dollars. I always thought Good, Bad, and the Ugly was the first one because I think it's the most famous. Please like, subscribe below. Thank you for watching the channel. Our next film is going to kind of wrap up this whole movies from the Great Movie Ride thing with Bridge on the River Kwai. That'll be coming up soon, so please stay tuned. And once again, thank you and have a good night.